Activision does have the ability to directly control what lobbies people can get into. Why is that a problem?
See this clip because it's honestly unbelievable.
Is this a private match? It's not a customs match, but they basically whitelisted all 54 of our accounts to where when we queue into like a public mini royale game, we're the only ones that will be in the same game, or like we'll all be in the same game. So it's essentially a customs lobby.
What? Like what? Proves that this functionality does exist in the game to say have the developers select certain players and decide what lobbies they can be put in or can't be put in.
We made a video about Activision whitelisting, right, streamers into easy lobbies to have a enjoyable experience for the viewers watching, to make the game look fun, market the game and make it look appealing to people that may already play or be interested in trying the game out. There is a correlation between time played and money spent. They use these streamers and their influence and network as a means to that end. And it's no secret that games that have a lot of viewers on Twitch typically get more sales and they have more active concurrent players on their games. So, you know, we talked about this a couple of years ago, and this is really just another little clip kind of substantiating the possibility and likelihood of that happening.
Irrefutable proof at this point where someone as reputable as Huskers, who's a very prolific streamer in the Call of Duty space, he's a Call of Duty partner who is legitimately acknowledging hands down a whitelist exists. Whitelist, we theorized before, allows these people on the whitelist to never be banned for cheating or hacking it or anything like that. But also this whitelist allows people, which he is saying definitively, it allows people to be hand-picked or kind of selected out of the group to only be allowed to match into certain lobbies or with certain people. And then you have to think like, well, how do those systems work, right? He says
only ones that will be in the same game, or like we'll all be in the same game. So it's essentially a customs lobby.
He says it's essentially a customs lobby and that they're all on this white list that says only these players are allowed to match with each other. But so if the criteria for how this works is you put these people on a certain type of list and then it says they can only match in lobbies that fit X criteria, think of the other ways that system can be used, right? It just takes one little extra step further that they would have these exact same content creators that he has just said are on these white lists, and to say these content creators in the COD Partners program, they're going to get matched into lower skill bracket lobbies so they can make really interesting content, really exciting high kill game content, you know, really the type of gameplay that will make people look at the stream and say that looks like a really fun game, that looks like a really fun experience, I want to do that too. And then they go and download the game, they go and buy the game, they go and purchase the skin that the streamer is wearing when they're doing really well at the game, because it makes them feel like they can do this. Which, by the way, that psychology is not ridiculous.
So we have data here that explicitly states that Twitch viewership has contributed to an uptick of, in some cases, 25% in game sales, right? So we know that people watching your game on Twitch is going to sell you more copies of your game. It's going to retain players, right? A perfect example is Symfuhny. I think he's like the biggest Warzone streamer. He averages like 15,000 viewers. Absolutely nuts for the Call of Duty category. That's like an eighth of the category on a weekend, all held solely by him, right? So we did this video 2 years ago, and in that video, the Warzone stats prior to Activision covering up and hiding the API data so that we would not have access to the broader population stats to actually get a good gauge on SBMM. We showed you that, you know, Symfuhny with a 4.7, I think it was, KD, 4 upwards of 5 KD, was on average playing in what the website categorized as bronze lobbies of players with 0.6, 0.7 average KDs, and me with a 2.4 or 2.5, whatever I had, was playing in diamond lobbies with players that had an average of a 1.2 KD, right? So you could see a massive disparity there. Why is someone with way better stats than me getting in way easier lobbies consistently, right? But we checked with Mutex, Huskers, like we looked at a litany of big popular streamers with influence and impact on the Call of Duty community that would be advantageous or viable partners for Activision to help market the Call of Duty games, right? We saw this data, we looked at it, we looked at my stats, we looked at Chandler's stats, we looked at the stats of these big streamers. There was a massive disparity there. And we theorized as to why that could be based on the information that, a whitelist exists that exempts these popular streamers from being banned via mass reporting. Activision knows who these people are. They're aware of them. They're Call of Duty partners. They know not to ban them. Now we know that they can control what lobbies they get put in. We theorized that before. Now we have definitive confirmation from a Call of Duty partner that is the case. Who's to say that they're not controlling what lobbies they get in? Why wouldn't they put them in easier lobbies, right? Because we know that's going to help game sales, right? They want the game to look fun. Why is that a problem? What's the big deal, right? Streamers get in easier lobbies than you. Who cares? Or Activision can control, they get in lobbies for tournaments, right? Who cares? Well, the reason that it's morally objectionable, and I want to clarify before I go into this is not targeted at the streamers, right? The intent of our content is not to villainize Symfuhny or Huskers or Mutex or any popular Warzone content creator, right? I don't think that they have any control. I think that these are things probably Activision does to their account, maybe does or does not disclose to them that it's the case. The greed and the kind of scummy practices that Activision engages in when it comes to marketing their game and trying to get sales and taking advantage of the consumer, right? When you watch these streamers and you see them have fun and you see them in good lobbies, they're doing well, they're smiling, they're having a great time, right? It makes you want to buy the game. It makes you want to buy the guns they use. The problem is that the experience they're having is an experience that is not accessible to you because you will not be put in lobbies with players worse than you. You will not be put in easy lobbies. You, when you buy the game, will be put in a lobby of people with commensurate skill to you every single time. You are selling an experience that those players do not have access to and will not have access to. You know that they are not going to be whitelisted into easy lobbies. They're not going to have the same fun, consistently easy experience, fulfilling experience that they're watching these other people have before they make the decision to buy the game, right? We have data that shows it too. These players playing these games and making them look fun and doing well, it informs people's decision to put money into that game, to invest money into content within that game, thinking that they are going to find the same joy, the same experience, the same fulfillment and entertainment in the content that they're watching someone else have. But the problem is that Activision is manipulating that behind the scenes, not disclosing that to the consumer, and you are basically being tricked into paying for something that you cannot have.
There's a study that a student did at the School of Graduate Studies, East Tennessee State University, with the supervision of several doctorate-holding professors, titled Effects of Video Game Streaming on Consumer Attitudes and Behaviors. So one thing they proved very definitively in their experiments, at minimum, is that streaming and watching these video game streams are viewed as some of the most credible sources of information for players and potential consumers and purchasers. When they're watching streamers play a game in what appears to be a very organic, casual kind of setting where it's just this unedited, free-flowing, I'm just sitting down playing a game format, they're way more likely to perceive that content as useful, credible, and a valuable source of information. They say that you can assume the perceived credibility the streamers have playing the game, that they would use that information when they're making their purchasing decisions and their decisions on what game to play.
We have a study from a senior analyst at Twitch saying that Twitch impacts video game sales for the positive. We know that streamers inform the consumer and the viewer on the game. So if we have both of those independent confirmed facts available to us, come to the conclusion that streamers are being utilized by the publisher. If we know that, Activision knows that, right?
This is a multi-billion-dollar franchise, multi-billion-dollar company. They've always been about maximizing those profits. Why would they create a COD partnership program where people can dole out creator codes when people go to make purchases, etc., etc. Those creator codes are used as tracking codes that they can track which creators are driving the most sales when people input those codes to make purchases, blah, blah, blah. Why would all that infrastructure be set up? Why would they be messing around with these, little content creators on the internet if it did not mean that it drove sales up, that it improved player retention? It is amazing marketing because of that high credibility that people associate with streaming content. Now that we have this definitive evidence of a top CoD creator saying that there is a whitelist that exists, he is on it. Here he is. Here's his creator code, Huskers. He's on it. And it was used in this one scenario to make this tournament happen. This technology exists, the means exist to make this happen. Of course, they will apply it. Do you think the only reason they went through the trouble of creating this complex system of a whitelist, of how all of these systems can work and commingle, that they would go through all this trouble just to make a tournament happen? For kicks? No. You don't pay programmers and analysts and all these people to do all this work for tons of man hours and spend all this money to create these systems so that you can't make tons of money off of them. You don't do it just for a little fun event. That's not how it works. We saw the top Warzone streamer is in bronze lobbies. Here it is. There's Symfuhny. Bronze 1. Consistently. We're getting in diamonds and golds. Symfuhny is getting in silvers and bronzes.
Not only is he in a party where he has a 5 KD, but everyone he's playing with has a 5 KD too, right? It's not like there's a bot on their team or they're reverse boosting off something. They have a full party of 5 KDs.
Yeah,
they're in a bronze lobby.
These are pro players from the pro CDL circuit that he's queuing with. Silver lobbies, bronze lobbies, blah, blah, blah. We consistently get high gold, high diamond. It's disproportionately out of whack. And so we know they're getting in easier lobbies, and this is the top creator. This is the top streamer for Modern Warfare 2 right now. That's him. So we know they're getting easier lobbies, and that's because this system's in place. The whitelist is in place. It allows them to make sure they get in easier lobbies because no one wants to watch a stream of Symfuhny dying 18 times in a row because of just the BS that we know is in Modern Warfare 2. We know, we've all been playing I don't hate Modern Warfare 2, but it's an unforgiving experience if you're actually getting matched with players at your skill level and you have a higher than a 1.2 KD. It's a fucking relentless experience if you're in those brackets. And it doesn't market the game super well because that's not fun. Not only is it not fun to watch, it doesn't look too fun to play either if Symfuhny would be there throwing his controller at his wall. So, it just goes so deep at this point.
They don't spend the money and the time and the resource developing a system like that and creating the infrastructure to use it once or to use it only for Twitch Rivals tournaments, right? Like, once they have that, they're going to get every single thing they can out of it. We've seen them do it with every other resource, right? Skill-based matchmaking. I mean, the freaking game's engines. I mean, they are going to use every last bit of a resource until it's gone and get every mile out of their infrastructure that they possibly can. So they're not going to have that system in place and then not use it. We know that skill-based matchmaking has existed for years and years and years, and now they are actually maximizing their efficiency and getting every single last bit of use that they can out of those systems.
And it shows because, dude, the
best-selling CoD in what, 10 years?
The best-selling
CoD of all time, I think.
Modern Warfare 2
is the best-selling CoD of all time,
topped
right?
800 million in sales revenue in only 3 days. This stuff is working so well. Why would they let off the gas? You know what I mean? Like, they have pulled out all the stops at this point with Warzone 2 and now Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 2022. We are in the absolute full swing, most matured form of all these horrific things we read in those patents that were filed years ago about the skill-based matchmaking algorithms and how they will just trick people into feeling like they're having an experience that they're not really having. These systems are made to maximize retention. They are literally created to make sure you never get off the game, that your play session lasts as long as it possibly can, because the longer you play, the more likely it is that you'll buy something. And that's how every website is set up since the beginning of time. That's how every TV show has been set up since the inception of television. That's how it all works. Keep them engaged for as long as possible, because the longer they're engaged, the more likely they are to buy.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Check out all of our socials and join the Game Gains Discord for updates, events, community nights, and to interact with us. And for the full unedited version of this podcast, follow the Game Gains Podcast, linked in the description.